This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch for Thursday, April 16th. I'm Gary Lane. The president plans to roll out new guidelines today that would clear the way for the country to begin to reopen. The news comes as weekly jobless numbers are out. Heather Sell says there's fresh hope that the country is making progress in the fight against COVID-19.
Although the death toll in the U.S. has now topped 30,000, the president is touting new data that he says shows the country is past the peak of the epidemic, and he's set to unveil his guidelines to allow states to start opening up again.
These encouraging developments have put us in a very strong position to finalize guidelines for states on reopening the country, and we think some of the states can actually open up before the deadline of May 1st.
Dr. Deborah Birx, the virus task force coordinator, is affirming that some areas are better off. 9 states have less than 1,000 cases and just a few dozen new cases per day. The president's new guidelines would help some of the healthier states reopen their economies. The plan will likely ease social distancing in these areas while maintaining them in places like New York.
All people in public must have a mask or nose covering, mouth and nose covering, and they must wear it in a situation where you cannot or are not maintaining social distancing.
More evidence is showing just how badly the virus has devastated the economy. Store and restaurant sales plunged in March, and the nation's industrial output is down by the largest amount since the end of World War II. The global oil market's a wreck, and U.S. banks are expecting a flood of loan defaults from homes and businesses hit hard. These growing economic concerns are fueling a backlash around the country against government restrictions and lockdowns.
The right to work and feed my family and provide for my children.
In Michigan, protesters say Governor Whitmer has gone too far with her stay-at-home order. And in Ohio, they're asking the governor to reopen the state.
They have zero rights to shut us down. They can tell the people that are compromised or the older folks to stay in quarantine, but the most of us are going to be just fine, and we want to get back to work.
Some business leaders are warning the president that more testing and protective equipment is needed before people can go back to work. But there's no doubt that the president is feeling pressure from them and from some key supporters in the faith community who want to go back to church. And with the presidential race as a backdrop, Trump's team has plenty of motivation to get more traffic on the roads as more people go back to work. Heather Sell, CBN News.
The FDA is giving permission for 2 new tests to determine if people have been infected with the coronavirus, but didn't know it. The tests use blood samples to look for the presence of antibodies, a physical response to the virus. Researchers believe the tests can identify past infections in people who displayed no symptoms and help determine the spread of the virus. The FDA fast-tracked the tests under emergency use authorizations. One drawback, they could give false negatives because antibodies might not be present early on in an infection. Families mourning the loss of a loved one will need to change how they honor that person because of the coronavirus pandemic. As Mark Martin shows us, funeral services are now much different.
For now, the sight of long lines filing past a casket to pay respects are on hold. Funeral homes must adhere to new guidelines. It's a big change for Mike Strickland, GM of Family Choice Funerals and Cremations.
We are going to follow all the necessary guidelines, of course, limiting 10 people or less to these services. We are using all of our personal protective equipment. So we just want people to use common sense, and that's what we're doing. This is an evolving thing. You know, the more we know, the better we are. But 6 feet away, 10 people or less, we're just using, common sense.
Right as you enter the funeral home, you encounter what Strickland calls the sanitation station. There are masks, gowns, tissues and gloves, wipes, and even hand sanitizer.
We want to keep everybody safe, and we want to be safe as well. And we tell families, if you're sick, stay home. We can email you everything.
Strickland's staff is working with one family whose deceased loved one suffered from COVID-19.
That is concerning to me and to the staff. So when we call the hospital or the place of passing, we always ask. And if the person does have it or has been exposed to it, we gown up, put gloves on, face mask, and that family that we have served, we have emailed.
He tells CBN News he's using technology to work with the family remotely.
Families are understanding, so if we have to do everything through the email or Facebook Live or something like that, people are understanding.
Strickland explains how they now handle graveside services by sharing a recent example.
The family was able to follow us to the gravesite, but they had to stay in their car. And they saw us go ahead and bring their loved one out of the hearse and place it at the graveside.
Strickland calls this current season uncharted water, and he's taking it day by day. Mark Martin, CBN News.
In the face of the coronavirus outbreak, many are relying on their faith. In Kansas, 2 women are putting faith into action, organizing a prayer walk around a local healthcare facility that's facing a COVID-19 outbreak.
We're literally praying for walls of protection, God's protection, to come up. And so it's just a declaration of faith.
The prayer walk was created as a show of support for the nurses and first responders working at the rehabilitation home, so that not just physical needs are being met, but spiritual needs as well. Well, stay with us for the latest on the coronavirus as we provide updates on the CBN News Channel and on CBNNews.com. Well, a Christian baker in Colorado is again facing a lawsuit for refusing to make a cake celebrating a person's gender transition. Autumn Scardina is suing Masterpiece Cake shop owner Jack Phillips for $100,000 in damages, fines, and attorney fees. The state already dismissed most charges in a similar suit. It's the 3rd time Phillips has been sued for refusing to make a cake celebrating events that go against his biblical beliefs. One case went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Alliance Defending Freedom is representing Phillips. For some, it won't be enough until Masterpiece Cake Shop closes its doors and Jack Phillips is in financial ruin. That's what the ADF wrote on its website. Well, a South Carolina woman says her family survived a deadly tornado Monday because of God's divine protection. A devastating tornado ripped through Orangeburg County earlier this week. The storm demolished homes, uprooted trees, and killed 9 people. Allison Ritter said she called on God to protect her and her 4 children during that storm. She told the Index Journal, quote, "Between all the wind blowing and trees falling, I just kept calling on Jesus. That's all I know to do in a case like this. He just kept his hand over us." There was some damage to the family home, but Allison says she's thankful for God's protection. Well, coming up, he's the New York mega pastor that contracted COVID-19. We hear from Pastor Carl Lentz about his recovery and how the church can be a light in darkness.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream. The chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities. The chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Hillsong Church pastor Carl Lentz has baptized Justin Bieber and counts a number of A-list celebrities as some of his church members. But a few weeks ago, Carl tested positive for the coronavirus, and he warned that the fast-spreading illness is so real and almost took him out. He's making a steady recovery, and he told CBN's Wendy Griffith that God will turn his situation around for the church for good.
Tell us, you are doing better, right?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege, and I'm doing a lot better, feeling like myself more and more, and I'm very grateful for that.
Carl, when did you realize that you first had the symptoms of the coronavirus?
It was the weekend that all of the quarantine stuff started to come out. It was on a Monday, and so we had just filmed our church thing on a Thursday night because we tried to stay ahead of what was going to happen. And so we filmed it, and then throughout that weekend I felt okay, but on the Monday I started to feel my body just felt funky in a way that, you know, wasn't like a normal thing, and I was so achy that I knew right away something is up. But I kept taking my temperature, and I didn't have a fever at all. And then after 2 days of like these aches, that was really my major symptom, these aches and this fatigue. I told Laura, I said, I definitely think I have this. And I had to call a friend who knew a friend to get me up to New Rochelle to basically what was an army setup to get this test. And came back positive. So I spent the next 2.5 weeks just trying to recover, and but throughout it trying to somehow, we got very lucky. I don't know, lucky is the right word, but one of our camera operators also tested positive. So I was able to film 2 messages for our church right in the middle of all this, because you can't be around anybody that obviously hasn't had this test. So it was just me and another sick operator who made our church kind of go for 2 weeks. I look back on those messages and I'm just like, God is gracious, because I don't remember them. I don't know what I said, but I know that people were helped, hopefully. So yeah, it's been a crazy journey, but God's been gracious, and it is a blessing to be able to be on this side of it and encourage people who are either scared of this or fighting this, that, there are people who are pushing through this.
Well, you are based in New York City, where the outbreak has been the worst. What scriptures encouraged you during this, and how have you been encouraging others? I know you said you preached 2 sermons with the virus, but what are your favorite scriptures right now?
I'm living in and leaning on Jesus. It's saying, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. That's all we have right now, and I think that's what I've been trying to express to our church, that we can't run from this because God's called us to be light in it. But our hope is in Jesus, and that's not dependent on whether you get a virus or not. It's not dependent on whether you lose your job. And I lost a friend 2 days ago that I love dearly, and didn't even know he was sick, because you lose contact with people, and he had diabetes, and he was struggling with his health anyway, and he passed away. He leaves behind 2 children, and it's one of those things where it just makes no sense. He was in church a month ago, and it's such a reality call and a reality check for us to look at our faith again and really kind of peel through some of the American Christianity side of our faith, which is just church and fun and celebration and just stuff that doesn't have a whole lot of challenge. I know everybody's got challenge, but this has really opened up our eyes to really look back in at this relationship with Jesus and go, what is it built on? Is it built on stuff? Or is this built on the fact that even when I get sick, even if I lose my job, even though I don't understand, I still believe this God is faithful? Absolutely.
Oh, okay, that'll preach. That's your next sermon, if you haven't already preached that. Well, in most states, churches are considered a non-essential business and are closed. So what has it been like, well, pastoring in these times? I know certainly you've probably missed a couple of Sundays because of, or weekends because of the coronavirus, but what's it like? What's it been like?
You know, I don't want to, you know, disparage or cast any shade on what other pastors are doing. But for us, we've always said our church is bigger than a building, and it's much more than a meeting. So for us, we are okay with honoring what the government's asking us to do, because I don't feel like anybody is threatening our right to worship. I think what they're trying to do is keep people safe. Huge difference. Nobody's telling us we can't worship, and we've just gone online like most churches in America and beyond have. And it's a classic case of what the devil meant for evil, God's going to use for good, because I think we can speak for a lot of churches. We're reaching more people than we have, and ever. So I think that that's a beautiful silver lining amidst this tragedy, is that God will find ways to help us be innovative when we have to be, and we're seeing that. So that's what we're doing. We just went online, and we're finding new ways to connect. We're finding new ways to love people, new ways to reach them where they're at. And I'm really proud of our church for the stand they've been making in the middle of this. You know, it's pretty powerful.
That's amazing. Well, Pastor Carl, we would love it if you would pray right now for our audience. Many follow you online or go to your church in New York City, and many are just finding out about you for the first time. But anyway, we would love if you would pray for us right now.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. Jesus, we love you. We need you right now, desperately. And I thank you that you are the Prince of Peace. You are the advocate. You are the one that can lift every weary head listening right now, Lord. You can give peace like nobody else can. So I pray your blessing today. I pray your protection over your people, and help us to remember, in the middle of the storm, you're still God. In the middle of the pandemic, you're still the one that brings peace. And it's you we place our trust in. So we speak your name and your grace and your power over the lives of everybody listening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Still ahead, the U.S. is stopping all payments to the World Health Organization. We hear from an infectious disease microbiologist who says the work of the organization has become too political.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time: keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, you know, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Region's first ROTC graduate student.
President Trump says he's suspending aid to the World Health Organization. He's counting that amounts to about $400 million this year. And the United States has contributed more than $900 million to WHO in the past 2 years. The president says the organization has favored China in the COVID-19 pandemic. He wants U.S. assistance halted temporarily until a review of WHO mismanagement can be conducted. Microbiologist Dr. Dean Hart told me the World Health Organization has become too political.
It is beholden to certain countries more than others, and the U.S. generally likes to be in charge of everything since we're the richest. Now, the World Health Organization plays a vital role in many areas, and you just can't close it down. We know we certainly need a better World Health Organization, a more honest, transparent one. We need one that reports stuff like this much more freely and accurately and get the politics out of it. When the World Health Organization played the pandemic card, it was with the approval of all the politicians telling them, yeah, now it's okay. They have to get away from politics and be a scientific organization more so. But the World Health Organization helps the poor and needy. The United States does not need the WHO. The United States has all the resources and science at their disposal. The problem is the WHO does wonderful things in Mozambique and with Ebola. So it's necessary, but it needs a whole lot of improvement. Defunding it and disbanding it is not the answer, but improving it, my goodness, it needs a lot of work.
And here in the U.S., did we start mitigation early enough, in your opinion? Dr. Fauci said when he requested that the president move forward with mitigation, he didn't hesitate, he did it. And it seems like mitigation has worked. So your thoughts on that?
Okay, mitigation. Dr. Fauci is a scientist like myself. He said the sooner you do mitigation, the better. Well, any scientist can say that. If you have one case, you can close down the world and start mitigating, and the outcome will be better. But hindsight is 20/20. In reality, you have to have enough of an epidemic to make it worthwhile to react, and then start closing and self-quarantining, closing things down. So at what point you turn the switch to off and do what we're doing, which obviously works to a great extent, but it eliminates the economy of the world. It's a horrible thing. One of the main things in life for healthy psyche is socialization, be it a church, be it a senior center. It is horrible to close things down. On the other hand, do we close it down the exact right day? That's for the historians in 20 years to decide.
It seems, though, that a lot of these computer models about the virus were wrong. I recall one that predicted as many as 500,000 deaths here in the USA. Another predicted 100 to 250,000. So what happened with that?
Well, when we locked down the society, those models went out the window for, I think I saw about 2.5 million Americans would die from this alone, which is probably twice the amount of people that die normally in the U.S. So when we locked down everything, stopped the economy, stopped the world, put everybody in a bubble sort of, then the computer models have to be changed because we're not functioning as we were. Now the question is, how do we open it up? 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we should have had these masks, and we should have been walking out with them because people didn't know if they were sick. And the masks are incredibly valuable for the asymptomatic viral carriers that are infecting everybody. Step number 2 is getting the proper tests so we know who's positive, who's negative. Even if you want to, you've got to have a fever here in New York because there's a shortage of tests. You would think by now there wouldn't be a shortage of tests. But if you can test, have billions of tests within the country, do it in the privacy of your own home will be in the future. That's really the two things. We got to test like crazy so we know, both serologically and nasal swab, and we've got to be able to protect our face so that we can't innocently hurt others.
Okay, Dr. Dean Hart, we thank you for your time and insights today. God bless you.
You too.
You can see more of this interview and other important stories on The Global Lane. That's tonight at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Well, coming up, it's a news show that is encouraging children during this COVID-19 pandemic. Hear why Charlotte Pence Bond started it and what the vice president had to say to young viewers.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Vice President Pence's daughter, Charlotte, has created a kid-friendly news program to help kids understand the coronavirus and what's going on in the country with it right now. Pence Bond says the show was created to help kids feel informed and secure. She told Fox News it breaks down the facts to make the news less scary. Her first guest was her father, and she asked him questions that kids actually sent in. Some wrote asking when they could go back to school.
I just want to say thank you to all the kids that are still doing your homework, that are taking time every single day to do your studies. And you know, I also want to encourage all the kids looking on to tell your teachers how much you appreciate them. And I want to commend each and every one of you kids that are still doing your studies and know that you can learn anywhere. You can learn at your kitchen table just as well as you can learn in the classroom. And so keep it up.
Well, that's it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our CBN News programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So we hope you've enjoyed this show. Until next time, have a great day.